Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week. And well, what a week it has been. It's Sunday. It's our new show. I love it. I love it. It's good to be here with you guys to see. Well, this is our last weekend of July. We're heading into August. We're heading into a lot of tariffs going into effect there on Friday. So, what can I say? What can I say? We also, this is kind of exciting. So, the last video of every month is the channel members' choice. Now, I put it out there, and I actually not many people actually replied. I took all the questions and different video suggestions from every place I could find that you guys have thrown at me. We came up with 4. Channel members voted. So the final video of the month, this is interesting. I kind of like it. So I'm going to take a ETF and a covered call ETF. And we're going to put them head to head against each other. We're going to see how things look in, a bear market, a bull market, and a boring market. So in other words, some flat time. So it's going to be very interesting. We'll see how everything rolls out. Of course, this video will drop on Tuesday unless you're a channel member. If you are a channel member, you get to see it. Well, you get to see it tomorrow afternoon. So that's kind of exciting. So what can I say? What can I say? It's going to be a fun week. It's going to be a fun week. This has been one heck of a month. This has been one heck of a month on the channel. We've had a lot of new subs come in. Last time I looked, I think we had about 400 people join the community this month just in July. So that's fantastic. I love to see numbers like that. Let's before we get to the chat, and I'm dying to get to the chat, we are gonna do our first news story. Get it done. Get it on the books. We'll get it on the books. So this week we had our retail sales information for May drop. So retail sales. Now, no surprise here. No surprise at all. They dropped in May by 1.1%. That's basically taking our overall sales in May down to 69.2 billion. That sure still sounds like a lot, but it's a little bit of a bite out of the GDP for sure. Now, the good news about this is that we expected sales to drop by 1.1%. So there was no real surprise. No real surprise with the numbers. Sales dropped. It was going to happen. This decline was driven by a 3.6% drop at the motor vehicles and part dealers, with new car dealers down 4.6%. Gasoline sales were down this month as well. I guess the month before last, May, they were down by 1.4%. Food and beverage dealers also fell by a 1.2%. Now, with everything falling, there's always at least a category or two that's picking up a little bit of ground. And believe it or not, there were a couple this month. So building and garden supply dealers saw a 1.9% increase. Yeah, it's May. That's when people are starting to get all of their flowers and stuff in order to get their to get them summer flowers. I know my mom buys a lot. My mom probably, I bet you 0.1 of that is my mom buying flowers. Also, health and personal care, they edged up 0.7%. Of course, the dollar values are nice, but I do like to look at the volume, as sometimes I find the volume can paint sort of a clearer picture if we got a general idea of how much food, how much goods, well, food is in there, but how much goods are moving on that retail side. So when adjusted for inflation, retail volumes fell 1.4%. Now that's a bit of a sharper drop than our headline number, which was a number we had expected. So there's a little bit of pain out there in retail. We do have a little bit of a sneak peek at the June numbers, And it's looking a little better in June, amazingly. Early data for June is showing a 1.6% rebound. I gotta love the rebound. It's a sign that the economy may have stabilized a wee bit at the quarter end. We have no breakdown for that June data yet. So it is unclear if this bounce back to the positive, whether it's broad-based or just driven by auto gas volatility. That could be the story. The overall driving force of this retail data is, of course, we all know what it is. Can you say Donald Trump? Can you say tariffs? Can you say overall trade tensions? That's what we got. 32% of retailers said they were impacted by trade tensions in May, which is slightly down from April's. In April it was 36. So maybe it might just be that people are getting used to it. And we may have to very well get used to it. With a trade deal beginning to look absolutely unlikely for August 1st, we could be looking in the coming months, we could be looking at some more job losses. We could be looking at rising consumer prices. And that'll all boil down to one thing that nobody likes to hear: lower disposable income. Oh boy. So yes, that was our first story. That was our retail report. Perhaps not the best. I almost feel like I should find a positive story for our top story, just so that we can feel good before we start throwing water on the fire. But what can I say? All right, guys, let's jump to you guys. Let's check out the chat. Let's see what's going on. And we're going to start with Cowboy with greetings all. And we got Max saying, hey all, and happy Sunday. Jonathan, wait, am I early? Yeah, sure. You're always early, Jonathan. Lisa's in the house with a good afternoon, everyone. We got Bismarcky with happy Sunday to all. All right, and this is a good comment. Friday should be interesting. See if Trump goes full taco Trump. So of course, taco meaning Trump always chickens out. Right now, everything looks like he's going to go ahead, except I did hear some rumors that he might give an extension to China because they've got a lot to work out. So China might get a bit of a reprieve for maybe not another 90 days, but we'll see. We'll have to see how that's going to look. But it's not looking good. In fact, Trump has said that he's not really even thinking about a Canadian trade deal at all. So it's not looking good, guys. Stan is in the house with a happy Sunday. We got King of Day. Hello all, happy Sunday. Did the streaming start a bit earlier? I don't think so. We just started. Yeah, 4:00. Now I do go live. I click the live button 1 minute before we officially start. So that way that little countdown thing, the countdown thing can play. And then at the end of the countdown, it should be 4:00, which is when we're scheduled to start. Now, why the heck do I do that? I do that because some of you guys are not on like YouTube Premium, so you got ads. So instead of me here talking for a minute while you're watching a bunch of ads, I'll just let that countdown go. So if you got the ads, don't worry about it. You're not missing anything. You're just missing the countdown. So I got that as I call it my ad buffer. That's basically what I use it for. Pereri says, good afternoon, community. Happy Sunday. Rory's in with a hi-ho. I love it. Is the TSX going to zero yet? No. The TSX is actually pretty strong. We got JJ in the house with a howdy. Howdy, JJ. Cowboy. Be a net zero. Liberals are in charge. A says, REITs coming down. Chances there won't be rate cuts. Northwest Health, KMP both down. Yeah, so any chance of a rate cut? There's no chance. I'm going to put this out there right now. I think the analysts are giving about a 15% chance that we'll see a rate cut on Wednesday. I think on the 30th. I don't even think there's a 15% chance. Some of the core inflation data that came out with the CPI last week, the Bank of Canada is not happy with that. even though there's that chance that we won't get a trade deal, and there is a chance that the economy will need to be stimulated by lower rates just to try to keep things moving, I don't think they're going to see it as the time to do that yet. So I think we're gonna see more rate cuts this year, but we're not going to see them probably until the fall. That would be my best guess, but we'll see. We'll have to see. We got Mary in the house with a hello, and of course, Mary is our she is our official steward of the like button. So you gotta hit the like button, otherwise Mary might get a little annoyed with you. Just hit that like button. While you guys are doing it, I'm gonna have some iced coffee here. It is so good, so good. Larry saying China, good old China. At first, it's funny. I'll tell you guys, this is a funny little thing. As I was reading the comments, I saw that one down a little bit down below. And at first I was thinking, why is he talking about that wrestler girl? So don't ask me why. I was just, because I think there was a wrestler whose name was China or something like that. I could be wrong though. I don't watch wrestling. I don't know a lot about wrestling. But with Hulk Hogan passed away this week. So wrestling on the brain. All right, Kat says he's too busy covering up his scandals. He's had 0 trade deals signed. Yeah, absolutely. This whole Epstein thing has thrown Trump for a bit of a loop. So even right now, while he's over in Scotland, he's kind of on a I'm kind of working while I'm on a retreat. So he's just trying to avoid all of these scandals. I have a feeling it's only going to, I think it's going to get worse. I think it'll get worse before it gets better. And here's the thing. He is fighting so hard against these allegations that he's coming off guilty. He's coming off almost panicky. So oh boy, this is going to be, stay tuned. That's what I'll say. Stay tuned. This is going to get probably more interesting. All right. Vinay says, so is now a good time to invest in Canada? Personally, I think it's always a good time to invest in Canada. Now, some foreign investors may disagree, and we have a story coming up a little bit later about that. But I'll tell you, this is a great country. I love Canada. We got some good companies. We've got some really good blue chip companies. So yeah, there's a lot of great companies to be investing in for sure. All right. Sisso is in the house. Hi, banana leather lady. Banana leather. Oh boy. You can make leather from mushrooms. I was watching this on YouTube the other day. So it wouldn't surprise me if they could find a way to make leather from bananas. So, holy banana bread. That's all I'll say to that. Larry says 2027 is when the doom will come. It's all a part of my plan. Larry, what is your plan? Is it Project 2027? I went there. A says, if there is no deal, markets may be red this week. Yeah, there's not going to be a deal. I can tell you right now, right up front, there will not be a deal. But here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing about it. It seems like investors have basically said, we don't really care anymore about anything. We're just going to do our thing. We're going to continue having all-time highs. Because right now, and this is happening in both Canada and the United States, investors are just doing their thing. And they are not paying attention to, they don't care what Donald Trump is saying. It's like, yeah, it's just the orange Smurf again having a tantrum. Nobody cares anymore. So, obviously we will hit an inflection point. We're going to hit an inflection point. And I know that there's some people, there's a lot of analysts who are worried that, this has to hit an inflection point. We've got to come down. It will happen, but the question is when. And that's probably $1 billion question, because right now it doesn't seem to be in sight. But hindsight is always a big thing. We could be looking at this a year from now saying, how the hell didn't we see it was about to all come crashing down? Or we could be a year from now saying, oh my God, this is gonna come down. It's gonna. That's kind of that thing. Right now, economically, yeah, everything says we should be worried. But well, the market seems to have other ideas at this point. So we're gonna have to see how this all goes. Obviously, we're gonna get more meddling from Trump. If Trump can keep the market, if he can keep the market from crashing, well, until he can replace Powell in 2026, then we could get a new chairman of the Fed in the U.S. who's going to cut, cut them rates, and we'll have to see what that'll look like. I have a feeling, though, and this is what I have a feeling. I have a feeling we'll see. If you looked at Liberation Day, the markets went ballistic, and we had that nice. Heck, that was the buying moment of the year so far. The best place you could have bought. We could see something like that down the line, depending on what he does. But for now, I think right now everything's going to be in a standstill. Even with August 1st, I think as long as Trump can't shake the news headlines on all of this Epstein stuff, it's going to keep him. That's going to keep him on the defensive, and it might keep him from messing things up even further. So we're going to have to see how this is all going to work out. It's going to be in the next 2 weeks. I think will be exciting, one way or the other. So I'm looking forward to seeing what is going to happen. Yes, China. Oh, and China. Okay, China's dead too. Oh boy, there we go. Thoughts on WCP? All right. I think I was asked about WCP in our last live, to be honest. And you know what? Here, let's pull it up. Let's pull it up here. I just have to come and there we go. Bring up the main screen. And there we go. All right. Here we go. Good old Whitecap Resources. I don't want that. All right, there we go. Now I like this, what I'm seeing right here. They have had a good week. I'm going to back out though, and I'm going to even back out further. And we can see that they've very much been in this movement up and down. And this could be another one of these. So this is the one thing that has me a little concerned. Could we be looking at another one of our downswings that we get with this? Now, part of the reason is you'll look and you'll see they've got a pretty high dividend, 6.903%. That's not a bad dividend at all. But this obviously is going to depend upon the price of oil. And right now, a lot of analysts are believing that we are seeing a little bit of too much oil on the market. So with all of the oil that's there, with the increases that OPEC have approved for August, there's a good chance we could see that pull back. However, with that being said, if you like those dividends, this is not bad. And plus, if we do get another pullback like this, heck, if it comes down around $8, I would say buy. Because it's probably going to come back up. It kind of like, if you guys know, like that swing trade, when I'm looking for a swing trade, like the one I did with Air Canada, this is the type of thing I'm looking for. I'm looking for stuff like this. So I'm looking right now at WCP, and I'm like, I've got to start following them a bit more closer, because if they do come back down to $8, I'm in for some. I'll ride them back to 10. I do like that. And we'll have to see. I mean, the one downside, and I think this is one of the reasons I don't often do swing trades with oil, is that oil is one of those commodities that is absolutely prime for black swan events. So, for example, all that stuff that recently happened with Iran, that that definitely had a huge impact on the price of oil. But we came out of it too fast. We definitely came out of that too fast. I know a lot of people probably got caught in that one, trying to make some profits. But what can I say? I do like Whitecap overall, and I'll probably, I think once oil is past all of the crap that we've been seeing lately, this is the type of company that I probably will add even to the 0 to 100K challenge. So I do like it. I do like it for sure. All right. Ian says, my registered, whoops, my non-registered account is all Canadian companies. It is outperforming my other accounts by almost double. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that just shows the TSX has been doing fantastic. Well, heck, just whoops, I guess I'll pull this over here. Oh, let's bring it back up. Let's bring it back up. Here we go. Boom. All right. So yeah, this is the TSX here. And I mean, just looking down here, right down here, I've got the performance. So the last 1 year. So for the last 1 year, the TSX is up 21.67%. This year to date, 10.77%. So those are good numbers. Those are really good numbers. And I'll show you one. I'll show one of a covered call ETF I have that I have it for income. I have it for income, but it has been absolutely kicking butt. And let me just show you this. A few of you are probably have it already in the back of your head here, but this here is HDIV, and it's holding a whole bunch of different Canadian assets. So let's just pull up. I'm just going to pull up the last year. I mean, it has been on a steady move up. And this is one I have for income because you'll see it's 11.154% dividend yield. Here is Donald Trump's Liberation Day. Whoops, right down here. Bang. And then just right back up, bounced back up and kept on going. This has been a fantastic it's sitting like in one of my accounts that I have it. I don't have this one in the challenge, but I do have it in another account. It's up big time. It's up big time. So it's definitely one of these ones that I've liked, but that's because the Canadian economy is doing so, not the economy, sorry, the Canadian market overall has been doing really well. Inflation is transitory. Those are words I don't want to hear anymore. William says, as a European, I find Trump's idea of these trade conflicts confusing because even if he gets these 15 to 30% deals, the U.S. economy will die by death of 1,000 cuts over the coming years. This is the thing, right? All economists will agree that that tariffs are not very good. They're not very effective. He may be pouring a whole bunch of money into the government, but he's taking all of that money from Americans. Europe's not paying for it. Canada's not paying for it, but America is. And I know right now, I think the EU was hoping to get a deal similar to the UK. I believe the UK has a 10% tariff deal, and I believe that right now, I think it's looking like about a 15%. If things go well, it might be a 15%. I don't think the European Union is going to manage to get 10%, but nonetheless, yeah, these are and Canada's probably going to have worse. Now, Canada, and this is the interesting thing. Canada right now, even though he's throwing big numbers at us. That's fine. Throw your numbers at us, Trump. We don't give a well, you know the word. I'm not going to say it because this is a family show. Well, mostly family show. But yeah, he's throwing some big numbers at Canada. But here's the thing: Canada is isolated because a lot of our exports fall under free trade, under the under that, what is it, CUSMO. And that, that is kind of isolating us. Now, the free trade agreement that comes up for renegotiation in 2026, and I have heard he wants to completely gut that. So that's when Canada is going to feel huge pain. Now, some areas we are feeling huge pain. On the automotive area, steel, aluminum, yeah, even copper. But a lot of goods, there's still a lot of goods that are moving into the United States tariff-free because of free trade. So once that comes up for renegotiation, that's going to be really, really interesting. Oh boy, it's only 3.5 years. Only 3.5 years. It'll be over soon. Rory says Larry's the Bond villain with the sub-ocean compound with a nuclear missile subs. Larry's just sitting there in front of about 20 monitors with a fluffy white cat on his lap. Yep. I love it. I love the imagery. Ian says, I've had WCP for years, actually averaged down a few months ago. My average is 8.83. Yeah, nice. Cisco says, how is Oracle? Oh boy. Yeah. We actually do have a story coming up today on crypto. And we have a crypto story. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this afternoon. Chad says the USA just bought out Everest Steel in Regina, Saskatchewan. Interesting. I had not heard. Maybe I heard about it, but it's not sticking out. It's not sticking out in my head right now, but yikes. Scratch says US needs to reindustrialize since the petrodollar is not a thing anymore. Tariffs is a way to bring back investments in the country, in my humble opinion. It might bring back some, but here's the thing, and this is what you have to realize. Trump is only here for, now 3.5 years. There's going to be a change of government, and right now it's probably going back to the Democrats. It's probably going back to the Democrats, and they're going to want to renegotiate things again. You're probably going to see a huge reduction in tariffs, if not a big elimination. So if you're a company and you're like saying, okay, well, how much would it cost to reset up in the United States to avoid tariffs? How long will it take? That's the other thing. It's not like you can snap your fingers and have a up and running company right away. In some cases, it might take longer than what Trump is in office for. And if the next person comes in and gets rid of the tariffs, then you've just relocated a lot of your manufacturing to a place where you don't have cheap labor. And you may have done it for nothing. So in a way, I think some companies might be a little resistant to actually doing that. Now, you're going to have some that might. Was it TSM? I think TSM is setting up some chip manufacturing in the States, but there's going to be some. But I think for the most part, I think a lot of companies might just sit back and say, well, let's wait. Unless, and this is where I guess propaganda will come in. There's probably companies who had already planned to set up something in the United States, for whatever reason. Perhaps, they wanted an expansion into the States. And I have a feeling that Trump will jump on a lot of those and say, look what my tariffs did. And, even though it might be a situation where, nope, your tariffs didn't do that. They were planning to do that anyway. But Trump likes to take credit for things. So, well, just, just watch the news. You're going to see stuff like this. Cowboy made several good buys on Liberation of Stupidity Day. Yeah, that was a day to be buying the dip, because that was an epic dip. So for sure. Rory says, I bought 2 ETF purchases on that day. Nice. What did you buy, Rory? I'm kind of curious. Kat says, I think that the one good thing in all this Trump fiasco is that Canada has been working hard to strengthen trade ties with other countries. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. On the other side of this, right? On the other side of this, Canada will have better relations with a lot of countries, a lot more trade deals going on. even when the premiers met earlier this week, the premiers, they reached out to the feds and they said, look, we need to start improving our trading relationships with China, because we need to open up as many partners as we can that are outside of the United States. So the United States, they may be the big kids on the block, but you know what? If you're a bully, and tariffs are a great way to bully, well, the other kids aren't going to want to play with you anymore. And that's going to happen. And it's not going to be a magic thing. Like 3.5 years from now, when Trump is gone, we're not going to simply say, okay, let's go everything back to normal. It's not like the end of the pandemic when everyone took their masks off. Nah, it's not going to be like that at all. The relationships that Canada is building, the infrastructure that Canada will be building, the things that we are going to be doing with our critical minerals, those aren't going to change. If anything, Canada will be on the other side of all of this. Canada is going to be a much stronger country than we were coming into this. So just something to keep in mind. Scratch says, WCP insiders are buying a lot of shares. Nice. That's always a good sign, is when insiders are buying a lot of shares. Now, guys, if you're curious about how do I find out, I'll show you one good thing here. Let me just pull up. I'm going to pull up Simply. I think I still have one left here. So this is simply wall.st. So Scratch was talking about WCP. So let's pull up WCP. Here we go. Whitecap Resources. And in here, you got so much data. There's tons of data here. Tons and tons of data. But what I'm interested in right now is I'm going to come down here to the ownership area. And here we are. Insider transactions. You can see them all. It'll actually even tell you who bought the stuff. But here you can see on July 9th, Grant, whoever this Grant Fagerheim, he spent $141,000 on 15,000 shares. And look here in June, Myron bought 7,000 shares. And Grant, back in June, also bought another 10,000 shares. So yeah, there's some people here stacking up. And when we look down here, look at this. In the last 3 months, 92,000 shares have been bought. None have been sold. And this is by insiders. Actually, the last time, back basically 9 to 12 months ago, there was somebody who sold 20,000 shares. But since then, look at this. In the 3 to 6 month mark, 305,000 shares. That's a lot of shares. So there is absolutely a lot of excitement within the company. And that, to me, that's one of those things, because these are the guys that, if they're excited about the company, I'm not going to say it's all insider knowledge, but that to me spells a lot of positivity towards a company. So yeah, that is a very good point, Scratch. And guys, once again, that is simply wall.st. So simply wall.st, that's where you can find that information out for. I will point out, on their free version, they give you, I think it's 4. I think you get 4 companies that you can look up a month. Here's how I do it, because I use this. As long as you get a couple of different email addresses, just sign up with a couple of different email addresses, and each one will get you 4 a month. So you can get around that instead of paying for, I think, I can't remember how much it is for their pro version. All right, let's jump on back here. Rory says, I'm looking to buy CPKC for its network stretching into Mexico. Yeah. So CPKC, well, the technically ticker is just still CP. So Canadian Pacific Kansas City, they're a fantastic railroad. They're the only railroad that has contiguous track from Canada through the United States into Mexico. So that's kind of a big thing since their acquisition of Kansas City Southern. Now CN, so CN, they do get down as far as the Gulf. So they do have tracks from the Canadian North all the way down to the Gulf. Actually, CN was really trying to get Kansas City Southern because they wanted to be the ones that could get into Mexico. But CP did buy them out there. I think both CN and CP are fantastic companies. Although, looking at CN, they haven't been having a good year, but I never count them out. Cowboy says demand for oil still seems to be higher than the supply. And that's kind of what OPEC has been saying. OPEC has been basically saying that we believe the supply or the demand for oil is higher than we think it is. And that's part of the justification for them increasing some of their output. So, it could be interesting. It could be interesting. That would definitely be good for a lot of our energy companies for sure. So we will revisit this. I really want to revisit the whole oil thing because that to me is fan. Yeah, I think the demand should be higher than it is now. So I hate to say I agree with OPEC, but I kind of do. Shale is crashing in the States. That I have not heard about. I have not heard about that. But when you're talking shale, so when you do fracking, so that's how they get most of their oil in the States. They basically drill down into the shale. They pump a bunch of water into it. That water loosens up the oil and brings it out. And that's how they end up with a bunch of light crude. And this is one of the reasons, and Donald Trump doesn't get this. This is one of the reasons that the U.S. Needs Canadian oil because all of their refineries, not all of them, but most of their refineries are not geared to process light crude. They have some that can process light crude, but most of them don't. Most of them work with heavy crude, which is basically what Alberta is pulling out of the oil sands is the heavy crude. So here's the beautiful thing for the United States. They can sell a barrel of light crude on the world market for more than they're paying Canada for a barrel of heavy crude, which they can then process. In fact, we're the ones who don't have that processing ability. So a lot of times we're sending the oil down there. They're processing it. We're buying some of the stuff back at higher prices, of course. So it's kind of an interesting situation. But that's one of the reasons that the U.S. they really do need Canadian oil, despite the many times Trump has said that they don't, but they do. The other option is if they want that heavy crude, if they want to cut Canada out completely, they can get it from Venezuela. Venezuela has heavy crude as well, but I don't see them going that route. And that's one of the reasons. Well, I mean, the fact that Canadian energy is only a 10% tariff. That's what it's all about. All right. Scratch says all-in-one oil cowboy. Gotta love it when people hate it. There we go. CIBC and Capital divvies this week. Yes. And CIBC, there was a news article. It's not in my news, but CIBC, they leapfrogged over Scotiabank market cap wise. So they have moved up in the rankings in the in Canada's top six. Yeah, big six. Ian says my 1 year in the non-registered is up 34%. Don't know how I beat the TSX. Sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes you make some moves that really work out well, and you're like, how did I manage to beat the market? But it does happen. Ian says, wish I had never sold CPX, so Capital Power, in February of 2024. Oh boy, yeah, CPX, and I'll pull it up here for you guys. If you haven't seen CPX, let's do it here. All right, CPX. All right, here we go. There we go. Capital Power Corporation right here. I'm going to pull them up for the last year. All right, so this is CPX. Now, you can see they have followed what oil has done. Like oil had this huge slump, but they've been coming back. I like CPX overall. Now, they do have a dividend, 4.194%. when we look at the back end, let's go into the back end data here. They have a pretty good return on equity, 15.24%. Now, this is the only downside is they do have a lot of debt. So their debt to equity ratio is 109%. But, and this is the thing, to me, like, I do like this company. I would want to go in and figure out what that debt is all going for. What have they been using their debt for? Because they can't have good debt. So we're going to have to take a look at it. All right. Jim says, let's get back to the big one. A deal with the UK was announced at lunchtime today on CBC Radio. It was 15%. Oh, the UK was 15%. I heard 10% earlier today, but there we go. I stand corrected. 15%. All right. Rory says, let's see, I bought CPX in 2021, never looked at it since. Yeah, I mean, it is a good stock. I mean, I do like it. My TFSA finally hit the 100K for the first time this week. Nice, Mark. Nice. I was going to call you Mark. Nice, Max. That's one of them magic numbers. They actually say, and I think it was Warren Buffett that once said, or it was either Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger. One of them said that first 100K is the hardest, but once you get it, then things get easier. So let's hope so. Sharks with lasers. Good old Austin Powers. I love it. All right. If the state is going to make their own products, they will need raw resources. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the United States needs the critical minerals. They need everything we have. In fact, it's not just critical minerals. We get something else that they need, something else really important. It's called fresh water. So if the United States ever invaded Canada, I bet you it's not going to be for critical minerals. I bet you it'll be water related. But let's hope that never gets. I don't think that'll ever happen. But you never know. Redwater says tariffs reduce the value of our steel. Yeah. And that's part of the reason, like, the government came out and we've actually put some pretty serious tariffs on foreign countries who want to import steel into Canada. And it's not because we're playing Trump's game. It's because we're trying to ensure that Canadian companies who need steel buy it from Canadian steel producers, because there's a lot of pain here in that industry. 100%. All right. You're not maxed out yet, but close, I'll bet. Although Max, depending on how much you've grown, like how much of that 100K, maybe you don't know off the top of your head, but here's my question. How much of that 100K did you contribute? Because, if you contributed 50,000 and you got 100K in there, then that means you doubled your money. Or 75,000, then you grew your money by 25,000. That's kind of an important thing to know. MC is in the house. HMAX or QMAX? If you could only pick one. I love technology. So if I could only pick one, probably QMAX, because even if tech were to fall, even if we go into a bear market and tech leads the way like they did back in 2021, I still know that I know that tech's coming back. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now in AI. I can see some really big move in a lot of movement, I think, in tech over the last part of this year. So it's gonna be interesting. So yeah, I would say QMAX. Between those two, my vote would be QMAX for sure. All right, Jim says, I am the end. It's going to make Canada. Yeah, in the end, yeah, absolutely. On the other side of this, Canada will look better. I mean, we'll have better defense. We'll have some much needed infrastructure projects, hopefully completed. And better trade connections with the rest of the world. So yeah, I mean, Canada should be. no matter what happens, I will absolutely say this. Canada should be an economic superpower. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. So let's do it. Let's do it. Bought mine in April. All right. Cowboy says regulators didn't get Canadian bid go through. All right. Or didn't let, yeah, the CN bid. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. Absolutely. CN's huge. Like they're one of the big, they're one of the, I think they're one of the top 3 railroads, like, size wise. And this, yeah, this would have made them even bigger. So I understand why it didn't go through. But what can I say? It would have been great for CN if it had, but it's also good for CP. And I like having 2 really good railroads in Canada. Let's see. Look out for Christine Guerrero in it to win. Made 3 videos with her. Christine, I don't know who that is. The name looks familiar, but all right. I'll have to track down. You know what? I'm just doing a quick little screen capture of your comment here, Scratch, because otherwise I'll be like, Christine, who am I supposed to look at? I'll take a look. All right. Redwater says U.S. fineries pay $20 less per barrel than fair market value. Yeah. Well, exactly. That's the whole thing. And that they're getting a great deal. And part of it is that we don't have our own refineries. If we build our own refineries, we can make the US pay more. Or more better, we can ship them off. We can ship them off to other countries. We can sell our stuff instead of to the US. Let's sell it fair market value to other markets. Bismarcky, Trump banned the Venezuela Little League team from entering the USA. I know. Trump. Oh, Trump. I am not a fan. Not a fan. All right. A niece is in the house. Hi, all. EU got 15% from Taco. Yeah. That's what I heard. See, I had heard UK at 10 and the EU was looking to get 15, but apparently it's 15 for both. Somebody let me know. Where the heck did I get the 10% from though? That's what I need to, I gotta look. I have to look that up a little bit later. Derek's in the house talking about XRP ETFs. Let's see. I took your advice and got out of SLXN and moved here. Get in while you can. XRP is the replacement for Swift and digital property transfer storage. XRP will be 10,000 gains. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty bullish, I think, overall on a lot of these cryptos. It's one of these things like I feel like we're still kind of in the infancy of crypto. I think there's a lot of room for things to grow, and as we get more and more, I'm pretty excited overall. I mean, will we still have a crypto winter? Yeah, of course. But I think the next crypto winter is going to surprise us. It's going to surprise us in the fact that it's not going to be so bad, and it's probably not going to be for a very long. So that will be fun. Once, I do have a crypto story ahead. Once I get caught up, we'll move to the next news story. Or I might have to just stop and move to the next news story here in a moment anyway, just to get it moving. Because, we're almost at an hour. I probably should at least get to story number 2. Rory says, Manitoba has lots of water outside the Great Lakes. Yeah, there are so much. Like Canada is one of the biggest countries in the world when it comes to the amount of fresh water that we have. It's absolutely ridiculous. But not a bad commodity to have, that's for sure. All right. Derek says, let's see. I got in at $2.05. It's now up to $3.66 last week. That's 5 weeks or less. That's not too shabby. Derek believes XRP will be $1,000 by 2040. I can't disagree. I can't agree either, but it could happen. Yeah, it could. Cowboys. Saskatchewan has plenty of lakes. Canada has 20% of the world's fresh water. Oh yeah, Canada has like a crazy amount of fresh water. And, eventually that will be something that we will be fighting over is water. Water is that important. So, yeah, absolutely. All right. Oh, boy. All right. Derek says XRPP and XRPQ, both TSX and just implemented on June 18th, is still super early. Yeah. So, yeah, we had a lot of new ETFs crypto wise. So, I mean, just this year alone, we have seen, and the big ones are, we've seen Solana ETFs, and we've seen XRP. So those are kind of the big ones. I am sitting, and in the challenge, I have some Solana, and I also have that HBTE, which is basically it's an exposure to crypto through all of the companies that are exposed to crypto. So they hold things like Bitcoin miners, Bitcoin exchanges, also strategy, all of that fun stuff. All right, let's see here. I get in June 23rd with luck. All right, you should check my latest Blossom post when you get a chance to, Candace. All right. I am, as you guys may or may not know, I'm a huge fan of the Blossom. I'm going to drop my link here for you guys. So all right. So Blossom, and they have a desktop app now, or a desktop version, which I love. So Blossom is that social media app that is, of course, for investors. So here we are. We're over here on my home. So it's basically like any other social media app, except for it is definitely geared 100% to investors. It's investors posting. A lot of the big YouTubers are all over here. Look, well, look right here, Canadian in a t-shirt has a post here. He's actually plugging one of his old videos. How can you tell? He's got the glasses because he's got laser eye surgery and he no longer wears the glasses. But yeah, I like it over here. There's a lot of things that you can do. Originally, it started as for like a phone or a tablet app, but now I'm excited that you can do it on the desktop. And over here, this year is the 0 to 100K challenge. So I do put the challenge in here. I've not yet updated it with the new stuff because the first of the month we got a 0 to 100K update video coming out. So that is going to be very, very interesting. All right. But yeah, so this is kind of a place you can go. You can check things out, all of that fun stuff. So what can I say? I will also, and this is, if you guys head over here, give me a follow. I'll follow you back because this is where I normally check. I normally just go through all of my notifications. These are the people I follow. That way there I can sort of see if they posted. And look, here is a post from JJ. This is what he wants me to check out. So I'm going to check it out later. I'm not going to read it on the air, but it's all kind of fun. Oh man, it shows all of his holdings. Oh boy. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. So anyway, Blossom, it is a lot of fun. Actually, we had our Brandon Beavis. We had him on the channel here, like, what was it, last week, the week before last? And we did talk a little bit about that. Check it out. It is still up if you want to look. It's on one of the live streams. All right. Let's take a look here. The politics on this channel are delusional. Uh-oh. All right. Well, I'll do more research, Sean. I'll do more research to try to get my head out of the political cloud. All right. Here we go. Derek says XRLP is already adopted worldwide and is replacing Swift while adding so many more capabilities. Yeah, I mean, it is fantastic. All right. Let's see. Sorry, I should have said that Christine Guerrero is a Oh, is that an engineer? An engineer in the oil market, and she points out that a lot of issues with shale production in the U.S. Hope it will be a lit. Okay, perfect. No, I'm very interested, but thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out because oil. I'm very bullish about oil. So, what can I say? All right, Cowboy. It's pipeline capacities that give them the discount. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, and I know even right now, I mean, one of the things, and Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta, has been talking about it, is that she wants to increase the pipeline capacity to the states. And one of the methods that she's actually talked about, and this is kind of a cool method, it's called twinning. So what twinning is basically you take an existing pipeline and you just build a second one right next to it. So it twins it. And the reason why that's a good thing is that that land that the pipeline is on is already zoned for a pipeline. So it basically removes a lot of the red tape to do that. So definitely interesting. Let's see. Ryan says, I don't know if this is the right place, but can you do a video on penny stocks? I've been playing with that. I'm not a fan. Like, I'll tell you right up front, I'm not a fan of penny stocks. But, and I'm putting this big but out there, I think there's a place for them. And I think if you are going to play penny stocks, if you approach them using sound fundamental analysis, it will improve your chances of not getting wrecked. But I have been hesitant of putting out that video just for the simple reason that it's penny stocks. But I think it's probably gonna happen. So you may get your penny stock video. Redwater says drilling stock on average are down. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Max says a lot has been contributed, not much in interest so far, but only been the past 10 months of building it up. Early days for TFSA. Rory says, Scratch, I believe Eric Nuttall has been saying the U.S. shale is past its twilight moment. Scratch says, great community here. We need to shut it for some time to let Candace expose her content, right? Yeah, I don't know. If I think just, you know what? Here's the thing. If you like the content, and you want to get more exposure to the channel, sharing it, sure. Yeah, I think that's what you were talking about. Sharing it's one way to do it, but a nice easy way is just hitting that like button. That like button lets the algorithm know that people are interested in what we're doing here, and it pushes it out. So I do like that for sure. Awesome. All right. D Queen B me. Okay. Trying to make sure I'm saying that right. But I could see in the picture you're sitting on like a queen and you got a little bee thingy on the back. So, all right. Hi there. I'm newish. I'm also new to investing only for 1 month. I bought 1 share each of Q Day, S Day, and C Day after watching your video. Thank you. Okay. Fair enough. So those, of course, are those new. Well, they're new ETFs. So they are the 0-day timed expiry. So they're really kind of cool. So basically, they're going to be paying out dividends twice a month. So they are covered calls. They're the new kind of the star ETFs over there at Hamilton. So I do like them all. And I have exposed myself to Q-Day because, as you know, I do like tech quite a bit. What I will say though, D Queen be me, is that they are for what's called income investors. So, and I don't know anything about your story, but if you are a brand new investor, if you're a young brand new investor, because I don't know how old you are, but if you're young and you got a long runway ahead of you, you might want to look a little bit towards what I call them total return stocks, but those are your dividend growth because you will make more money on them on the long term. So it's just a thought. But yeah, I'm glad that you found the channel. Watch some more stuff. and bring your questions here. And this is kind of what I have the live streams for. Is, as you guys know, I put out like 2 videos every week. But I can't answer everything in a video. In a video, I got a short amount of time. Here, as you guys know, I usually go for about 2 hours on the Sundays. So yeah, if you're watching a video, and this goes for any of you, if you're watching a video and you got questions, you're like, oh my God, I kind of want to know more about this or that. That's what you bring it here for, and you ask away. Most of you guys ask a lot of questions anyway, but that's what these here are for. Anyway, congratulations for finding us, and welcome to the community. I'm always happy to. I love seeing people I've never seen before, so that's always cool. Let's see. Candace approves my assessment for 1,000 XRP in 2020 and 2040 or sooner. That's nice to hear. Well, I don't know if I approve. It's not that I approve. I don't disapprove. That would be a better way to say it. I'm thinking, yeah, it is plausible. I'm not predicting it though. I'm just saying it's plausible. It is possible. It's even possible that it could be higher. There's a lot of there. Oh boy, I probably shouldn't have said that with Derek. Higher. Uh-oh. Next week you'll be back saying 1,500 XRP by 2040. All right. Oh, and this is just me and Blossom. All right. Brian says, good afternoon, all. Running a little late coming here. I'm number 47 on the like button for Mary. Nice, nice. Yeah. And Mario is in the house with a good afternoon. You have 86 on the liver stream. What is the liver? I don't know what the liver. Oh, the live. And just the last live stream, I said, I'm getting really good at being able to figure out misspellings and stuff. This time, no, I was thinking liver stream. Am I supposed to eat some liver like at the hour mark or something? All right. Kubo Haas says, what are your thoughts on Ethereum holding companies? So AKA BMNR and SBET. So yeah, this is kind of the whole. This kind of is very much like the Bitcoin holding company. So a lot of companies have been adding Bitcoin like crazy to their balance sheet. Best example, of course, is Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, and it has worked out well for them. Now, Ethereum, I still like Ethereum, even though, yes, Solana has bit into a bit of the market for Ethereum. Like if Solana wasn't providing a really good platform to build stuff on, Ethereum would be a lot higher than it is right now. Like they would definitely be north of 4,000. But Solana has become popular for that reason. Nonetheless, there's a lot of things that are built on Ethereum that they're not going to just up and rebuild it on Solana. So I think Ethereum is here to stay. I think Ethereum is going to be strong. I think a company adding things like Ethereum, Bitcoins, even Solana, even XRP, adding it to your balance sheet, I think it's a good idea. I'm not familiar with these two individual companies, but I will say I think it's a good idea to be holding things like that. Now, I'm going to look one of these up right now, just because, maybe these are maybe I've got completely the wrong idea on what these companies are doing, but let's take a look at this first one here. BMNR. Let's pull it up. BMNR. All right, here we go. So Bitmine Immersion Technologies. Whoa, free wood composite direct decking. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. All right. Before I even look at anything, so here they are. Okay, so they're brand new company. Let's take a look here. All right, This is that thing I've been talking a lot about this over the last while, is that you get a new company, you get that hype. You get that hype immediately. And this is it. Like, look at this. This went absolutely wild. And this is where I would hope nobody bought. I hope nobody was buying up here, up at like 100 and almost 140. And then it's going to come back down to earth. And usually it will find a fair value. Is this the fair value? $38? Maybe. I probably would wait a bit longer just to make sure that it's settling out at that area before I would get involved in something like this. But let's come down here and see here. So, okay, so let's see here. So Bitmine Immersion Technologies, clean energy solutions, solar installations for commercial. Okay, yeah, they're doing a whole bunch of different things. But if they're holding Ethereum too, that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, they're a little bit new, and I'm always, and this is not just because it's crypto. I'm like this with all IPOs. Most IPOs have a similar shape at the beginning, and then they settle down. Um, I would give it some time. I would give it some time. See how it see where it settles in before you can sort of figure out what is a fair price to get in, if that is something that you're interested in. And the other one you said, SBET. Let's take a quick look at that too. We're here. Why not? Here we go. SharpLink Gaming. All right. Well, this one has a little bit. All right. This one is not an IPO. I like that. But I'm wondering if this is when they added it in here, because you had this massive explosion, and that's, once again, that's hype. That's hype. And then it sort of seems to have settled down, and now it's moved up a bit. Yeah. Same idea. I would give this a chance to settle down and take a look. It's kind of an interesting thing. Like, I would still say you want to be interested in what they do. So in this case here, this one connects sports fans, leagues, and sports websites to relevant and timely sports betting content. Yeah, you want to make sure. Now, sports betting is huge, especially in the United States. Sports betting is absolutely huge. So there is money there. There is definitely money there, and this could be profitable. I'm kind of interested in this one a little more than the other one, only because they've been around for a while. I don't get any data here. So, but once again, this is kind of a US company. This site sometimes is not the best on US companies. So, but yeah, I do like the idea of holding Ethereum. Absolutely. All right, Cowboy. Stat Oil built an oil sands plant in the Fort Mac area, never developed it because had no way to ship via pipelines. Yeah, we need, that's the thing. We need more pipelines. And it's not just that east-west pipeline. So we'll have to see how this is all going to come together. All right, Mario picked up some of those Daymax ETFs. Roy says there are just new days of the week to make to me. Nice. Will Synovus make a better deal on Meg than SR? Okay, that's to Cowboy. Let's see. Will you be doing a Friday show with it being August 1st? I will have that option out there. I will have that option out there for you guys. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. But I would love to be doing an August 1st show. Absolutely. The Doomsday Show. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Meg is now crowbait. Lots circling that corpse. Oh, yeah. All right. Anyone have a strategy for a no tariff deal? And that's a good question. All right. Tom Lee is the new CEO of something. Suckers always buy the IPOs right out of the gate. Yeah, absolutely. There's always hype. And that's the problem. And sometimes, like, there is the occasional IPO that will come out and it will just go up and keep going up. That does happen from time to time. But knowing most of them don't. Most of them will go up from the hype. They'll hit an unrealistic high, and then they'll come right back down. And unfortunately, what happens is a lot of people during the hype on the way up, a lot of people are buying. Like, oh my God, look at this. It's exploding. I've got to get on this moonshot. And then it turns around. And by the time it turns around, you don't even have a chance. You're stuck with a losing position for a while. It happens. In fact, in some cases, well, I'll show you one case here. All right, and this is this. I love this ETF. This is HYLD. But let's go back to the beginning. Here's their launch, and you can see they had a hype, and then they settled. And well, the problem is they had a launch in a bear market, so all of the assets they were holding were falling because we were in a bear market. So they still had a little bit of a hype because people were excited, brought them up to the top here, and then they fell into the bear market. They settled into the bear market. They've been fine, other than here's Trump's Day. I still love this one. It's just that, a lot of people, I've heard people that say, oh, well, it fell so far from the start. Well, yeah, it did. And anybody who did buy on this hype day bought it at $17 and are sitting and waiting for their 17 for it to get back to 17. Well, it's not going to happen. not this, probably not not this year or next year, but maybe it will someday, but not for any amount of time. And this is just that whole thing. So for something like this, I mean, and this is where you got to sort of look at things. Everything's falling. And this here at that time, they had a completely different composition of ETFs they were holding. They're holding a lot of US ETFs that were all falling. So, this is normal. You had to expect that. Now they actually have a better composition. So they've changed their composition. So they used to hold a whole bunch of different US ones, things like JEPQ and things like that, a whole bunch of the US ones. But now they only hold Hamilton ETFs. So Hamilton has expanded with a lot of good ETFs. Now they're only holding their own ETFs, which makes it a lot more stable and a lot more exciting. I like HYLD quite a bit. All right. Paul says, good afternoon from work lunch break. Well, welcome to the show. Make a change. Click the like button. All right. Yeah, exactly. Click that like button, folks. All right. After this question, I'm going to go to news story number 2, just to get it out of the way here. And then we'll get right back to you guys. Question. In regards to tech. I'm trying to limit US exposure where possible, but I feel Amazon plus Google plus Microsoft are a big part of my AI play. Would those constituting 25 to 30% of my portfolio be one bridge too far? Here's the thing. Canada does not have a strong tech sector. So to get tech exposure, you kind of have to cross the border. And there are some things. You got like Topicus.com, you got Constellation Software. So yeah, there are some open text. There are some, but they're not going to have that big thing like the US ones. So whether it be Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, of course, NVIDIA. So yeah, it's kind of one of those interesting things. And here's the thing. I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. When it comes to Buy Canada, yeah, are you going to do it for, forsaking opportunities to make money? And we got a news story on that. We're going to get to it in a moment, but it's that thing, right? If you want tech exposure, it's very hard to ignore the United States. And I also look at it this way too. It's not, you could argue that, yes, the United States put Trump in and then Trump is the one doing this. And you could say, well, they knew what they were doing. They voted him in. I think a lot of Americans had no clue what they were doing. I think a lot of Americans, got suckered in by what he was saying. And I think there's a lot of Americans who are regretting putting him in. And there will be a lot more Americans when they start losing Medicaid that will probably regret voting in Trump. So, I kind of take all of that into consideration. Like, a lot of times, a lot of the US companies, tech companies have been bending the knee to Trump because, well, what happens if you don't bend the knee to Trump? You get these frivolous lawsuits against you. He bends over backwards to try to make things really, really difficult for you. So, some of the companies are kind of doing that. Is it the right thing to do? Probably not. But it is hard to, it's hard to not be exposed to the US. And I don't think anybody's going to fault you for it. What can I say? Now, there are ways to perhaps not give in to the United States. There's definitely places that we can hit them. I think investments may not be the best place in some circumstances, but one place is this one, air travel. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So Canadian travel into the United States has dropped in May. So their year over year in May came in at 30. It basically was down 31.9%. There has been a sharp overall drop in cross-border travel to the United States. So Canadians are just not going to the US. Now, this does mark the 5th straight month of year-over-year declines. And it's actually interesting. I mean, it's not just the US. In fact, when it comes to travel overall, year-over-year, we were down 22.5% internationally as well. So that's kind of interesting. And you'll find out why it's interesting, because year over year we're down, but for the month of May, we were actually up when it comes to international travel. So when we break this down, car trips were hit the hardest. So Canadians returning by car from the US, that dropped 37.4%. Plane trips are down by 17.4%. Now, at the same time, our overseas travel in May did increase by 9.3%. So there have been a big shift towards European and domestic travel. So domestically, yeah, Canadians they're taking advantage of some of the things. Like right now, the government has the the Canada Strong Pass. And it's been basically giving Canadians a chance to visit the national parks with huge savings on getting kids, moving kids, for example, as well. This has been really, really, really good for Canada. Now, of course, obviously we know what's going on. It's all of the trade tensions, traveling, basically there's a little bit of a travel boycott that's been developing. So Canadian sentiment towards the U.S. has soured, of course, due to the ongoing trade war and those tariffs. What can I say? Some Canadians are starting to feel, I think a lot of Canadians actually feel a sense of betrayal when it comes to, the United States was our best friend. We got close ties with them for decades and decades and decades. So this, it is a little bit of a betrayal from them. And then that has stewed that patriotic shift towards local spending and avoiding American goods and destinations. Now, even the U.S. Officials, they're noticing it big time. U.S. senators just recently visited Ottawa, acknowledging that the travel drop, and they came up here to tell Canada that we miss you. Oh, so nice of them. But I mean, a lot of them, it's not their fault. Like I've seen some of the commercials. Even Gavin Newsom had this interesting commercial not that long ago, trying to urge Canadians that come to California. It's not our fault what the orange Smurf in Washington is doing. So what can we say? Canadians, basically what this means going forward is Canadians are going to be spending more time and money at home or abroad, but not across that southern border. There's a clear cultural and political shift in consumer behavior, with travel patterns becoming just a form of economic protest. What can I say? As tensions continue, expect a longer-term reshaping of Canada-U.S. tourism dynamics. It's not going to be something that goes back to normal really, really fast. Now, I'm going to jump to the next story only because we've been talking about it. All right, we were just talking about investing. So interestingly, not that long ago, we had a story about how some Canadians have been moving their investments home, but it seems new data is suggesting that those Canadians might be in the minority. So Canadians have been buying U.S. stocks at record levels. So in May, Canadians bought a record $14.2 billion in U.S. equities. So that's a good chunk of change for sure. So this comes, of course, despite our nationwide boycott of U.S. goods and travel that was triggered by the trade war that we're currently experiencing. So over the past 4 months, and this is kind of interesting too, Canadians have been purchasing U.S. debt. So we've dropped $20 billion into things like treasury bonds. So basically, in a way, we're effectively financing the government that's been hitting us with tariffs. But yeah, a lot of people have been buying up U.S. treasury bonds, and which is funny because I'm kind of like, I didn't realize it. I honestly didn't think that we were buying a lot of those bonds, because I'm kind of like, I'm I'm kind of skeptical on them a bit. So it is kind of interesting. Now, we got the Buy Canada movement. So Canadians are actively avoiding US products and canceling trips, as I mentioned before. But even though most Canadians, more than half of Canadians, according to recent polls, are reducing their US spending. And 60% are also saying that they're going to buy more Canadian-made goods. Fantastic. But when it comes to investing, it's buy America all the way. That's kind of been a trend. I'll tell you, I love Canadian stocks, but I've maintained that it's, the US market is the biggest in the world. And if you want to make money, you kind of need some exposure to it for sure. Now, at the same time, and this is what's really interesting, a lot of foreign investors have been pulling out of Canada. So foreigners have sold $2.8 billion worth of Canadian stocks in May, which is the fourth straight month of divestment. There's been no net foreign buying of Canadian portfolio assets in the first 5 months of 2025. This is the first time we have seen this since tracking began, and tracking began back in 1988. They are still buying Canadian bonds, though. So Canadian bonds, yes. Equity, not so much. Now, despite all of this, the markets have been rallying. So May was a bit of a comeback month. So the S&P 500 rose 6.2%. The TSX gained 5.4%, breaking above the 27,000 mark, which is nice. And year to date, as we were looking at earlier, the TSX is up 9.3%, which, it's doing really, really, really well. So basically, I guess that our takeaway here is we want to pay attention to tariffs. So this whole 35% tariff threat by August 1st, that's looming. It may have an impact on the market. I don't think it'll be as big of an impact as we think, kind of like the last time. It wasn't as big as we thought. If we can get some kind of a Canada-US trade deal before the fall budget, that could certainly shift some momentum in our, in our economy's favor. But I'm kind of getting skeptical on that one too. And I'm a positive person, but I'm getting skeptical a lot lately. Now economists have been kind of in a cautiously enthusiastic tone, all because of Mark Carney's Make Canada Investable Again plan. So that, of course, is all focused on cutting red tape and reviving business investment. This would be a good thing. All right, let's quickly jump back to the chat. All right, let's take a look here. Strathcona is trying to make a big splash, most likely a belly flop. Oh, yeah, it happens. It does happen. All right. Strategy, STRC, 2.5 billion IPO, 9% dividend, and pays monthly, set up to maintain $100 price. Yeah. And those of you who've been around for a while, you guys know Paul has been making some, let's get back to this one. Paul has been making a lot of really interesting moves. He's been doing well, and this is definitely one of these companies that have been part of his rotation. William says, I also have 10 to 15% of my portfolio in hardware plays, ASML plus TSMC, mix of either semi-names. Now, hardware is another interesting thing. I think hardware is always going to be, it's always going to have a demand. And if we, especially in Canada, if we're looking to build infrastructure, if we're looking to really push things, I think hardware suppliers are going to be fine. I think they'll be fine. They could even be one of those underlooked stocks that could do really, really well. Brian says the likes don't refresh when we sign in, other than adding your own. Oh, really? I don't know. I see. That's the thing. I couldn't tell you how many likes there are. Only thing I can tell you right now is at this moment there's 85 sets of eyes on the show. Well, maybe. I mean, there might be somebody who's not watching the show, just listening to it in the background as they're playing solitaire or something. I don't know. Scratch says went 8 likes to 52 after the refresh. Okay, there we go. 52. Love it. All right. And I'm going to skip over anytime you guys are just talking to each other. I'm going to skip over it because with this many people, I fall behind really, really fast. All right. Yeah. So we're skipping over those. All right. Larry says I passed out, had too much pizza. A pizza coma is not a bad coma for sure. William says, haha, coincidentally, Topicus constitutes another 15% of my portfolio, then Brookfield 10%. Yeah. So Brookfield, and I know there's a lot of people who are like, Brookfield, yeah, I'll invest in that because Carney's going to pump it to the moon. But despite Carney, Brookfield's always been a pretty good company. They have done well. So Brookfield Asset Management, Brookfield Corporation, they've got a whole bunch of other little Brookfields as well. But the two key ones, BN and BAM, I have a lot of faith in both of them. Those are kind of like, I did a tier list at one point, and they were both sort of on the line between S tier and S tier and A tier. So they definitely did really, really well. Let's see, for AI, Tesla and Palantir. Yeah, I did. It's actually interesting. The other day, I just pointed this out, was it Friday? I think it was Friday morning, after Tesla had its crash. I did open a small position in Tesla, rode it up a bit, it was a quick little trade. I think I made about $500, but it's just one of those things. Rory says, Larry, I get sleepy slouching in my lazy boy. You gotta love that. William says, I'm a Swede though. So is a niece. A niece is from Sweden. I don't know if niece is still here, but there we go. I have two from Sweden. I love it. Cowboy says Canadian tech seems to have no dividends. Yeah. I think I thought Open Text had dividends, but yeah, I think for the most part, most of the Canadian tech is not really. But even U.S. tech, there's some dividends, but they're not. They're not your big destination for dividends unless you go with a covered call over top of them in an ETF. But Paul says buy Canada. Nope. There we go. Let's see. Scratch is looking for leftover pizza. Trump says the states doesn't new tourist, or I guess doesn't new tourist or do tourists. Let's see. I refuse to go there until the mob is no longer in power, maybe even longer. Gavin Gruesome, no thanks. Let's see. Don't worry, America is coming to Canada. Yeah. That's actually funny. Another Cali company is leaving In-N-Out Burger. Oh, In-N-Out Burger. Yeah. I think In-N-Out Burger, I think some of the US, a lot of the US people, tech people, investing people used to really promote In-N-Out Burger. Cowboy says, let's see, more business leaving California. Their tax system is, yeah. I mean, California, I think when you're looking at the states, I think the worst taxes, pretty much California. I think they might be number one. I know a lot of people have, a lot of businesses have left. I think that's why Elon moved Tesla's head office to Texas, was because of the taxes in California. Okay. Oh, let's see here. Beside the days, I also have VDY. I love VDY. DHT.UN, CNCC, MSTY, QQCC. QQCC is one of my favorites as well. TSYY, YMAX, YMAG. ZWC, XEQT. Interesting. So I'm holding them. That's what you taught me, not to get scared in the bad times. What do you think? You've got a lot. You got a lot of interesting ones there for sure. But not, like I said, one of the things that I don't have, and this is what makes it hard for me to just sort of answer this, is just that I don't know what your overall goals are, but I have a feeling that you love dividends because we're looking at a lot well, we're looking at a lot of dividends in here, except for now XEQT. That's a fantastic, like I love XEQT. So XEQT, that is your all equity. So they invest, you're getting your US exposure, you're getting your Canadian exposure, European, Asian, emerging markets, Australia. You're getting a lot of exposure with XEQT. So yeah, that is beautiful. Love that one. ZWC, that is banks. So bank exposure. It is a covered, no, this one's not covered call. I'm thinking of, I think I'm thinking of ZWB, but it is one of their, I'm pretty sure it's a covered call one. It is a BMO. Now I have to look it up. ZWC, why? Let's see here. I know most tickers. Here we go. Yeah, Canadian high dividend covered call. Okay, perfect. I just needed to know what it was. There we go. But yeah, you have a lot of interesting ones in here for sure. Absolutely. And keep watching and bring questions. Always bring questions. Let's see here. Michael says, hello, Candace. Did you notice the short-lived dip in Mullen following its quarterly results? By the time I was ready to buy a bit more, it recovered the following day, but it will remain patient. Yes. Good old Mullen. I know we've looked at that a few times. Sometimes, that's the thing. Sometimes there's nothing worse than experiencing a dip in a stock that you're watching and just not having the money at that point in time to deploy. But yeah, that's not bad. Scratch says, as a Canadian, I think we should focus on ourselves instead of blaming the others for our mistakes. Time to grow up. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. And this is kind of where I'm going. Like, Canada has made mistakes. We've made big mistakes. The fact that what the US is doing with these tariffs, the fact that it is affecting us as much as it is, that is on Canada. It is. I mean, if you think about it, we should have been, with all of our resources, we should have been utilizing it. We should never have gotten to a point where if we want to open up a new mine to use a resource that is needed on the world market, for it to take 15 years, that's ridiculous. So, and it's not, and I'm not even blaming any particular party. Like, there's been a lot of parties, and there's been, it's been all conservative and liberals back and forth, but this is something that should have been fixed a long time ago, for sure. But that's what I like right now. We should be getting that fixed. Paul says, let's see, that STRC will take money away from USAT bills. Those that had access to the IPO could buy at $90 instead of $100. Oh, that's not too shabby. All right. Jack is in the house. Let's see. Google is by far the best AI play right now. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen really soon. August, we're expecting the next version of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT 5. So that's coming out in August. They've just released Agent. So ChatGPT Agent. I don't have access to that yet. I'm supposed to have access by the end of the month, though. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that can do. So yeah, we got a lot of, I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff in AI. And I mean, heck, I even heard Elon talk about making an AI for kids or something. I'm like, oh boy. After some of the interesting things that have happened recently, I don't know if that's where I would go next, but I think everybody is kind of moving. AI it's that genie that's been let out of the bottle that I don't think is going to stop. It's gonna get very interesting, for sure. Okay, Paul says the day of the Tesla clash rotated 20% of each. Strategy, Palantir, Hims to Tesla at 3. Nice, because yeah, and Tesla came back up quite a ways from that. Actually, let's take a look. I'm kind of curious. I can't remember what it finished at that day, but I still have it here. I think I still have it here. Yeah, it came back up to 316. So here's this crash after their earnings call. And that's a funny earnings call. I talked about it the other day. But yeah, me and Paul were talking basically on, was that Wednesday? There we go. Yeah, Wednesday. So we were talking on Wednesday about it. And he was showing me some TA that he got from somebody else. And, the TA was saying, yeah, Tesla's ready to explode up. And I was a little concerned. I was not feeling it. And I did mention that to Paul. I said, I kind of feel nervous about this one. And I'm glad I did, because look at this. It came down from 300 to 333 to 300. Now, I wrote a little bit of this up here on, I guess it was Thursday, Friday. I wrote some of this up. Fantastic. Now, looks like Paul had an opportunity. Yeah, Paul, I hope you got out up here. I hope you, but that's fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Let's see. Buy Canada Nope was for stocks. Exactly. Pierre says, hi, Candace, the small position of Tesla you bought, was it CDR or the original US stock? It was the CDR. Yes. Yeah, that way there, I was just, like I said, it was a quick ride. I wanted to ride it up. So I went with the CDR because I did not want to deal with any currency conversions. I just wanted to, quite literally, I wanted to get in, and I was planning to be out before the end of trading day, and that's what I did. Paul says, in one of my accounts was looking at the closed P&L for strategy. It was $100 per share. Interesting. All right. Jack says, I missed Toyota before the Japan trade deal. Really wanted some, but I was already 99% stocks, 1% cash, and missed plus 13% in one day. Yeah. Well, it's nice to see that Japan managed to get a deal with Trump. So that's not surprising. Now, you can, guys, if you want access to the Japanese market, was it BMO? I'm trying to remember. I think it is. Yeah, BMO released a whole bunch of new CDRs that cover a lot of foreign, a lot of international stocks. So CIBC has all your US ones and a few Germany ones, but BMO then released a whole bunch of new ones as well. And Japan is one of the ones that you could have had access to. And here we go. Prairie for the win. OpenText 3. Yeah, see, I thought OpenText had a dividend, and ENGH 5.09%. Yeah, there we go. So we got a few with dividends. We got a few. Cowboy, is it best to do swing trades in non-registered accounts? CRA 31-day rule. Yes, unless, and I'm gonna give this. If you're making a very long-term swing trade, so for example, if you're buying something, you're like, okay, I plan to flip this probably in about 3-4 months. You could do that in a registered account. That's fine. But if you're doing shorter trades, like less than a month, and frequent trades, then yeah, do not do them. Do not do them in your TFSA. Now, you can do them in your RRSP as much as you want. The government does not care because they're getting 100% taxes anyway. So your RRSP, no rules. You're fine. You can swing trade, day trade, whatever you want. But yeah, in that TFSA, if you're doing something frequently, then yeah, I wouldn't do it. But the occasional longer term swing trade, it's fine. You're not going to get in trouble for that. All right. So Paul says the rotation forces me to take profits to buy the faster horse. But you know what? That has been working for you, Paul. So there's nothing wrong with that. Pierre, US stocks like Palantir and Tesla, I buy through Canadian dollars, CAD hedged at TSX. Not sure if this is good or better to have a US account instead. If you're doing it a lot, then I would say perhaps. So yeah, so for example, if you want the US account, if you have Wealthsimple, as long as you have a balance over 100,000, you get the US for free. Otherwise, you're paying for Wealthsimple Pro, you're paying like $10 a month. If you do a lot of trading, though, one other option might be a National Bank. National Bank will give you a US account for free. You still pay to move money back and forth unless you use the Norbit's Gambit, which you can use. You can use that in National Bank. You can't use that in Wealthsimple, so you're still paying that conversion fee. So National Bank might be one of the better options for US trading, or I think Quest Trade as well, because you can use Norbit's Gambit in Quest Trade. All right. Scratch. Let's see. The best play for AI is Nat Gas. Sure bet. There we go. The Tesla buy rotation forced me to sell some some strategy at 414, but Friday strategy was around. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad. If you sold it at 414 and it went down. Jack says, I like swing trading in my TFSA, and when I sell, just hold on to the profit long term, so there isn't even a taxable event, and wait minimum 7 days to sell a stock after buying. Okay. Yeah, I mean, as long you can do it in your TFSA, as long as you are respecting the times and you're not doing it like frequently and fast and all of that fun stuff. Let's see. Paul says, I held on to Tesla with Tesla, just have to wait after a dip. Yeah, absolutely. RBC also has the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Oh, does it? There we go. That's kind of cool. I did not know that. I would love, and that's the thing. I would love to see Wealthsimple add a few more. Like I would love to see, a bare minimum, I'd like to see both the UK. Actually, all right, I have a big list. I was thinking I want the UK, I want Australia. I definitely want Australia. And Europe as well. Those would be my top three. Japan wouldn't be a bad one either, but yeah. Brian says, if you collect a lot of dividends, get a US account. You get dinged every time you receive the dividend. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. If you are doing dividend investing, US account, best way to go for sure. Can you buy preferred stock in National Bank? I believe so. I would have to double check, but I think so. There's not, I've not found anything that I can't buy in National Bank. Rory says, I heard RBC was blocking bank accounts because people were buying too much crypto. You see, that should not be happening nowadays. That should not be happening. But I hope it's just a rumor. I hope it's just a rumor. All right, Paul is heading back to work. All right, and Pierre says, in my Wealthsimple, for all my positions in TFSA, I automated the portfolio to buy partial shares every day. Is this allowed in the TFSA? Yeah, absolutely. There's no rule against buying. No rule against buying. So, and partial, yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. The big thing is if you're doing more of a day trading thing. So, for example, if you're buying it today at $10, you're selling it tomorrow at $12. The next day you're buying it back at $10. That's day trading. So that's going to be those things that they will get you with. All right, and Wealthsimple doesn't allow preferred stock. Interesting. Yeah, I know Wealthsimple. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to double check. Cowboy. I'll do that during the week here. Ask me again next week. And here, I'm gonna, just to make sure I double check, I'm gonna copy paste, or sorry, screenshot. I'm gonna screenshot here, so that way there, I'll double check. Now, hey Cowboy, is there a specific ticker that you were looking at or looking for? Because I could run that. All right. While Cowboy thinks about the ticker, we still got more news stories. Absolutely. All right. Let's get to story number 4. So that trade deal, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's DOA. I don't think it's happening. So Trump has said that there is no deal, that there is probably no deal with Canada coming. And he has hinted at just walking away from the table. So he has pretty much kind of confirmed that there's probably not going to be any kind of a deal with Canada by the August 1st deadline. And he also said, and this is a quote, I think Canada could be one where there's just a tariff, not really a negotiation. So he has been considering, just completely skipping negotiations and perhaps slapping even more tariffs on Canada. So, well, that we'll have to see. Oh, boy. So currently, since returning to office, we've already got 50% on steel, copper, and aluminum, 25% on autos, 25% on all non-USMCA goods with some exemptions. So oil, gas, potash are taxed at 10%. And then, of course, he's threatening on August 1st to raise all of those non-USMCA tariffs to 35%. But luckily, and this is the thing, a lot of companies have been resourcing some of their materials to get things to be USMCA compliant, because then they can get around the tariffs that way. So that is good. But as I mentioned, when they renegotiate free trade, that's when we're going to have a problem. So right now, Mark Carney and our minister Dominic LeBlanc, they have pretty much said that they're not going to accept a bad deal just to meet the deadline, but it doesn't look like they're going to get any deal at all. They do claim that they're making progress, but there's still a lot of work to do. I'm kind of a little bit skeptical on that, but maybe they're going through the motions, but we'll see. Trump doesn't seem to be very interested. Canada, of course, is looking for a deal that protects long-term national interests, but not a rushed agreement under pressure. And of course, there's also non-trade issues that need to get incorporated into the deal. So national security, border cooperation, and that darn old Golden Dome missile defense system. Oh boy. So impacts are now starting to be felt. Both sides of the border. U.S. companies are passing tariff costs to consumers, according to some of the real-time pricing data coming out of the United States. Canadians are boycotting those U.S. goods and travel. So what can we say? So obviously we're going to pay attention to that August 1st deadline to see what happens if either side caves, or as we suspect, nothing happens. And if Trump, of course, does come out with even more tariffs, we can expect a lot more higher prices for consumers, more pressure on cross-border supply chains, and this is a good one. This is maybe a good one, a greater Canadian push towards domestic manufacturing and non-U.S. trade partners, which we've already started doing. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good for sure. Brian says, on my Wealthsimple US RRSP transfer, it got held up by holding a stock called RIV. Had to sell it. Oh, interesting. That is I don't know what RIV is. I don't know if it will if it'll come up here, but I kind of curious to know what the heck that is. Let's just see if I can get it. RIV. River North Opportunities. Well, there is a RIV US stock. River North Opportunities. Go away, ad. I don't know. I have no idea what this is. It's a fund. Huh. Let's see. Closed-end management investment company. Let's see. Tactical allocation under, yeah, SPACs. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a regular investing I'm not sure why that would hold them up, but at least you found it out. All right. Still waiting on the transfer. TRP preferred, DFN preferred. Okay. Ask me on Wednesday. I'll look these up. I'll look these two up for you for Wednesday. Brian says, I had them in my TFSA. That I transferred from TD. No problem. They have them. Okay. Perfect. Scratch. There will be a deal sooner than later. This is just short-term noise. We are going into a commodity bull market and we have leverage to play with. Yeah, absolutely. I hope I'm wrong about Trump just sort of not having a deal, but we'll see how it works. I definitely don't think we're going to see anything by August 1st, though. No hope it's going to zero. Let's see. Oh, wait, I have the Class A, not the preferred DFN and DF. Okay. Danielle says, I just saw that the EU made a deal with Trump, and I feel that EU just gave up. I don't want Trump to win with Canada. We have to stay strong. Yeah, exactly. I would rather just take, you know what, throw your tariffs at us. Let's just build up our economy. Let's build up our infrastructure. Let's start selling to overseas. That's my opinion, for sure. Ian says, I'm thinking about dumping PLZ and buying RMAX. I'm happy with PLZ, but I'm up 12% and already hold RMAX in the same account. Why hold both? That's an idea. That's an idea. I mean, I do like RMAX. Now you will get, I mean, if there's also HYLD, you will get access, exposure to RMAX through that. That's one of the ETFs that they hold. Scratch. Let's see. The CAD USD squeezed in a corner and broke out. Look really good on the long term. Okay, let's see here. Yes, that's the correct RIV. They don't have it at Wealthsimple. Okay, fair enough. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. We're finally moving in the news. I like it. We're all right. What do we have up next? So it was a slow news week, but I pulled this one together here. It's something called Canadians are starting to do this thing called defensive budgeting. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. So it's kind of a budgeting strategy that is it's considered a smart strategy for uncertain times. So with economic uncertainty and job insecurity rising, this is a lot of Canadians are starting to rethink their overall household finances. So that's where defensive budgeting comes in. It's basically a system that plans ahead for financial dry spells without, of course, derailing your normal lifestyle or goals. It's apparently a pretty proactive approach to managing cash flow in a household with mostly variable income. So, if you're a freelancer, contract worker, things like that, you don't know exactly how much money you're going to have. So what it does is it uses stable income to cover essentials and recurring bills. By the way, this is not an ad. This almost sounds like an ad. I'm sitting here going through this. I'm like, this kind of sounds like an ad. It's not. It's just something called defensive budgeting. There's no links or anything. Don't worry. So it uses less predictable income for lump sum expenses and saving goals, prioritizes future spending months in advance, especially irregular costs like travel, summer camps. It's kind of like some of the people have these. I've seen these budgeting things on YouTube where they do it with cash. Well, obviously, we're investors; we won't do it with cash. But people stuff envelopes and create all these categories. I think that's kind of an interesting way. But obviously, we'll do it through an investment way. That's how I would look at it. But yeah, one of the ways that some people will do is that if you've got a couple and one of you has a fixed regular salary, that's the one where you want to put the fixed monthly costs on. So for example, if the dad is making big bucks, throw the mortgage, utilities, and all of the subscriptions coming out of that pot, while the person who is perhaps making more variable income, so let's say if the wife is on contract and things like that, then that's where you look at things where you pay once a year, twice a year, things like property taxes. So, she could be just putting away some of that and saving it towards that property tax bill when it comes out. So little things like that, annual travel, that type of stuff, childcare, camps. That would also be the funds. That would be the income where you would build your emergency fund out of, for example, car replacement, all of kids' expenses, things like that. Now, why is this important? Why is it important to do something like this in this type of situation? Part of it is mostly there's a lot of psychological benefits to it. So having a clear, prioritized list so one of the best ways to reduce money stress. Good old money stress. Bye-bye. It gives you permission to enjoy spending when it is appropriate. So knowing that, out of the steady funds, we got all of the big things that, are taken care of. You just feel a little bit better when you're spending your money. It's also good too, because when you look at it budget-wise, you're encouraging long-term thinking, this is something I don't like to see, panic-based money moves. So those are never good. So anyway, a little story. I just wanted to kind of touch on a tiny bit, because it was just it was something. We got a crypto story next. But first, let's get caught up here very quickly here. Up here says I learned more in here. Other YouTube channels are scams always trying to complicate explanations so that you buy their courses. Thank you, Candace. I pray your channel keeps growing. Well, thank you, Pierre. Yeah, there's a lot of channels out there that, it's just like, oh, come buy my course. It's never going to be this cheap again. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. I always look at it this way, and this is my philosophy. If I do want to develop I don't know if it's going to be a course per se, but I do want to have something in that direction. But here's the big key thing. I am still going to provide all of my information, for free. Like, I'm not going to sort of ever get to a situation where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take you up to the answer, but oh guys, sorry, I can't give you the answer because it's behind a paywall. Yeah, I'm never going to do that to you guys. To me, that's just wrong. And I've been there as a viewer, right? Where you go through and you spend 15 minutes where they're going to explain to you what you're looking for. And all they do is they just build up to the explanation through the whole 15 minutes. And then at the end of that 15 minutes, it's like, so yeah, if you want the information, just drop your email address below and we'll get back to you. It's like, what do you mean? No. So yeah, I will never pull you guys on a journey like that. It's like, if I develop something that, like I was almost thinking it would be more or less like, if I do it, it's going to be more or less like, well, what's the word for it? Just, I'll call them pods, little pods. That all the information that'll be in the pods, you can find them by watching a whole bunch of videos, but it'll be more or less you'll be paying more or less for the convenience because all the information will be pulled together. And that's still a ways off. I'm not even remotely ready yet. So, yeah, Andrew says, I've got a quick question. Does transferring from a registered cash account to a TFSA trigger a tax event? Maybe. And here's the maybe. So if you are transferring from a registered cash account, you see, this is that. I'm assuming I read this first as a non-registered account, but all right, let me sort of explain it. If you've got cash that's sitting in your cash account and you move it into your TFSA, no, there's nothing's triggered. You're fine. Well, the one thing that could be triggered is if you put in more than your contribution room, then you would have overage fees, but nothing would be triggered. But here's where things would be triggered. If you had, let's say, for example, you were holding some Scotiabank stock in your non-registered account, and you're like, okay, well, I want to move that over into my TFSA. So you sold it, put the money over and bought it in your TFSA. Well, the capital gains that you generated when you sold it initially in your non-registered account, that's taxable. So you would get taxed, 50% of that would be taxable income. So you would get taxed that way. But if you just have cash sitting in a non-registered account, you can move it in without any tax implications. Let's see. Yeah, if you're going to trade, you have to have fundamentals over TA. A 4-year-old can learn TA. Yeah. I mean, technical analysis is, I don't even think it's an art. Like, you can quite literally get and I think you can buy these on Amazon. It's a sheet that has all the patterns on it, and then it will tell you what it probably will do. So yeah, you can get there, but if you want to be good at TA, what I always say is, don't just sort of blindly follow the patterns. You need to sort of look at, I like to look at the bigger picture at the same time. So take the technical analysis, but also understand some of the fundamentals going on behind the scene. Understand some of the current events going on behind the scene. Understand some of the potential black swan events. So going back to Paul and that Tesla thing, the TA was saying that there was a good chance Tesla was going to break up. But here was kind of the reasoning I was looking at. As I was looking at the situation, I'm like, okay, yeah, it says that. But there's a lot of tension going on between Elon and Donald Trump. That's causing a little bit of chaos. We also had issues, some grok issues with the grok calling itself Mecha Hitler. Yeah, more issues. The actual numbers, even though they were going to beat expectations, these numbers were down big time compared to a year before. That's another concern. All of those concerns put together, and I was like, I don't feel like it's going up. And that's why I was not willing to play it. And lo and behold, it did go down. But if I was just playing straight technical analysis and not taking the other stuff into consideration, I probably would have made a play, and I would have been wrong. I would have been wrong. I would have been, it would have went down, and technically I would have lost money at that point. So sometimes you have to look beyond just the shapes, beyond the basic technical analysis. Take a bigger picture. Always take a bigger picture. All right. Brian says you need to have the room in your TFSA. Yeah, there we go. All right. This economy needs multiple job taxes. Our highest level of spending. Saw thing said 43% of earnings go to tax. Yeah, I saw that too. I think I saw. I think it was a YouTube video. Either that or it was something on. It's either that or something on the news. But if it was on the news, I watched the news on YouTube anyway. But yeah, Canada right now, the amount of all of your money, all the money you make. It's a crazy amount that goes into taxes. That's a number that needs to come down big time. And right now, it doesn't look like it. Like as it is to finance a lot of what Canada does need to do, it really looks like, I know there's been some groups out there calling for the government to raise the GST. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think Canadians can use any more taxes right now, but it's going to be interesting. Let's see, like Motley Fool always wanting you to spend money. Their big noises on the South American eBay or Amazon. Yeah, see, I'm not a fan of the Motley Fool. And I'll tell you guys right now, the Motley Fool will give, some of their free articles are pretty good. They're pretty good because those are the articles they're trying to use to lure you into their paid system. And I had a friend who was in part of the who subscribed, and they shared with me the stuff in the paid system, and I was like, oh my god, all of their free articles are the good ones. The stuff in the paid is just not that good. The quality goes down big time. So I've got no faith in the Motley Fool. Other than they have good articles that are free, but beyond that, no interest. Brian says, I don't like a lot of the Motley Fool picks. If you pick 100,000 stocks, sure, you will get a few right. That's true. That is true. What if you sold a stock in the non-registered account at a loss and rebought it in the TFSA? Would you be able to claim a capital loss? Not necessarily. If you sell it and you buy it back immediately in the TFSA, I think it will become a superficial loss. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things. I thought that you could do that. I actually thought that you could do that, but I found out that you can't. You can't. So yeah, but here's the thing. If you're selling it as a superficial loss because you're moving it and you don't, it's not like it's going to hurt you. It just means that you won't be able to use it against a capital gain. Now, what I would do in a case like that is I would, so let's go to the Scotiabank thing. I would sell the Scotiabank, take my capital loss, move the money in, and then I would either I would wait out about 30 days and I'd be fine, or I would, maybe buy CIBC or a different bank. That's kind of the way I would go or the way I would roll. Or worst case, if I am going to wait at the time, I could always put it into like a cash ETF or something and at least maybe get one set of dividends from it in the meantime. Okay, Cowboy says that Amy at Motley Fool still pushes PPL as monthly dividend. Makes me, are you serious? Oh my God. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. All right. Thank you. Basically, I have National Bank that has gone up a lot, and I'm thinking about transferring the stock instead of selling. Okay, fair enough. Scratch says, if you have a stock in a cash account and transfer it into your TFSA, you will sell in cash and buy at the same price in your TFSA. Maybe. It depends on the speed, right? So look, so let's say you have that stock in your cash account. All right. So if you want to transfer it into your TFSA, you have to sell it in your cash account, move the cash into the TFSA, and then buy it. That's how it works. So if you do it all at the exact same moment, you're probably going to be within a couple of cents. But there is that one moment, and this would be pure bad luck, where you sell it in your in your cash account, you move the cash over, and then you go to buy it and its price went up, like something happened that drove the price up. Yeah, there is that possibility. But it's probably a lot rare. Normally that wouldn't happen so much. All right. Oops. Let's see. Rory says, Motley Fool, I figured them out just by the stupid name they use. Yeah. Pierre says the taxes are so annoying in Canada. It demotivates people from investing, say, in real estate or even buying a home. When you think of property taxes, property taxes are the worst. Yeah, I would agree. There will be a tape tax when you try to fix your tent. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Prairie says, I laugh at the Motley Fool articles. They highly praise a stock pick, and then at the end they state it didn't make it into their top picks, then recommend some arbitrary stock. Oh my God. What do you think about Spin Master Corporation? So Toy. Well, let's pull up Toy. I haven't looked at Toy in a while. All right. Of course, they've got the best ticker for sure. All right. All right, here's good old Toy, so Spin Master. All right, now, and this is kind of one of the sad things. I mean, toys overall have been down, and I don't see a lot of positivity in the future for toys. Now, this one here, I will give them. They have a 1.88% dividend yield. Now, why do I feel like toys are not going to? Because toys are one of those things that, when the economy is rough, when people have less disposable cash, it kind of goes to what Trump said. Your kid doesn't need 10 Barbies, they just need a couple. That's one of those things that certainly does happen with anybody within that industry. And let's see here. What do these guys do? Yeah, so they design, manufacture a whole bunch of products, brands. Yeah, a whole bunch of different things. But I think they'll be fine on the other side. But right now, I think that they're probably, like, if you look up here, when they were, I'm going to go back even further. Let's go way back. Well, we look at where they were up here at 48. I think it'll be a very long time before we see that again with them. So yeah, toys are certainly going to, and a lot of toys. I was reading an article about Mattel. Actually, we did it on the news here. Gosh, probably a few months ago. But Mattel is looking at other ways to option out their properties. So things like the Barbie movie, that was a huge, huge financial boon for Mattel. So they're looking at other products or other IPs that they own that they could perhaps option out into other areas. So that's kind of one of the things that a lot of toy companies are doing if they have those IPs. But overall, yeah, it's difficult, I think, for the toy sector in general. Now, let's take a quick look at the back end here. All right, they have one thing going for them. They've only got a 38% debt to equity ratio, so that's good. I like to see that. I think they'll be fine for that reason. Now they did recently, look at that. They doubled their dividend not that long ago. I don't know if I'd say I'd be concerned. It depends on if they plan to keep it, but maybe that was not the right timing to do that. But yeah, I do like them. I think they're a good company. I just don't think it's the best. I think depending on how they source, where they're sourcing their materials and such, the tariffs could come into play as well. But it might be, though, and with that being said, if you have a lot of faith in them, there might be some good buying opportunities over the next couple of years to sort of stack a few of them up. But right now, I'm not optimistic on toys overall as a sector. All right. Let's see. Pierre says, I think property taxes should be reduced as well. Maybe I will have to run for a seat in the parliament because it seems property taxes will keep increasing, right? But property taxes are municipal. That's the thing. That's how you're, like Ottawa. Ottawa, that's, the city of Ottawa gets their a lot of their tax money through property taxes. So, you'd have to run for mayor wherever you live. Run for mayor, and then you could try to do something about the property taxes. Martin says, would you not pay tax on the gains when selling? Yeah, that's the thing. When you sell, so, when your next tax time comes along, your broker is going to give you a T, one of the T forms with the capital gains in it. So it will mention that. So it'll get counted. So on your next tax, yeah, you're paying taxes. Now, when you actually do the selling, no, they don't take the taxes then. It just, you get a T slip. Is it T5? It's one of the, it's either a T, I think it's a T5. I think it's a T5. You get that. It has capital gains on it. So you report it as income on your income taxes. So that's when you pay. Now, if you are in an RRSP and you make a withdrawal, then they will take withholding tax and they will give that to the CRA, where you could potentially get that back when taxes come along. If, unless you owe taxes, then they'll keep it. But, that's where you could get that back. Cowboy was thinking of a rental property, but this pending home equity tax has me scared. Yeah. I still need to look a little further into that. Cole says, LOL, folks, he just signed a massive trade deal with the EU. Don't forget to notice that one. I heard 15%. I heard 15%. Somebody just mentioned that a little while ago here. Clive says, hi, what are your thoughts on YieldMax MSTY? So YieldMax, these are the ones, they do synthetic covered calls. So normally most of the covered calls that we're used to, somebody buys the covered call, they write, they sell options on it. A lot of them are, depending on the companies, a lot of them are what we call out of the money, which basically means strike price higher than what the shares are worth. But yeah, so they buy. Now, where was I going? Oh, YieldMax. So YieldMax, they don't actually hold. So like with MSTY, that's a strategy. So they're not holding. They're not actually holding strategy, but they're still writing options on it. And they do an upper option. So they do basically a long and a short. So they end up doing both sides, and that creates kind of like it's almost like they artificially have the shares, and that's kind of what they're writing the options on. So it's called a synthetic. That's why, because it's not really there. I think, as far as I know, YieldMax may be one of the only ones that are doing it. Now they're pulling in a lot of premiums because they're getting premiums from both ends, right? If they're doing a long and a short, they're getting two different types of premiums. So that's one of the reasons that they can offer some really high yields. I am scared a little bit of them, and I'll tell you why. We have seen, like, these have come out when the market is good. I fear how they're going to respond when we do go into the next bear market. So if you're using YieldMax, like MSTY right now, I would say just be very careful when we do start, when the economy does start to move into a bear market. I'm not saying that you should sell. I'm just saying just pay extra careful attention, because we don't yet know how these are going to respond. We don't have any history to give us that information. So it's kind of like it's going to be brand new chartered territory. So we have to see. Divorce Barbie comes with all of Ken's stuff. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. I like that. All right. And I'm jumping over these. All right. Let's see. That's awesome, Cole. And what's the PPL story? Pembina pipelines. Pembina pipelines. I mean, I have recently. Recently, I did. I think it was this year. I actually did a deep dive on Pembina. I like them. Now, I'm currently not invested in them directly, but I am in, I do have the pipeline ETF, and they have my PPL exposure in them. But yeah, I would check out the deep dive that I did on PPL. I wonder if I can find that. Just give me a second here. I'll see if I can find the deep dive for you. I was hoping I could. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, I did it March 14th. Here we go. I just want, come on, can you give me a, I'm just going to put it right over here. I can get a, oops, give me a second here. I'm just trying to pull up a video link here for it. All right, there we go. I got it. I got it. All right. Yeah. All right. Now I just need to get back to here. Here we go. So yeah, here is a link to the Pembina pipeline. So if you check that out, it'll give you all kinds of information on PPL. All right. Now we do still have, believe it or not, we got more news. We got more news. We got a crypto story. I'm excited. I'm excited about this. So I got to ask, here's a question. Is crypto outpacing stocks? This is interesting. So crypto is apparently now outpacing private equity for investment flows in 2025. Now, I will point out that this is in the US, and this is coming from JP Morgan Chase. So according to JP Morgan, crypto sales, they're selling more, basically crypto is outpacing private equity through them. So this may not be the full picture, but this is the picture at JP Morgan. So they have seen $60 billion flooding into crypto. And this is $60 billion year to date, which is up pretty much 50% since May. This has gone up 50%. So this includes everything from crypto fund inflows, futures market activity, and venture capital funding as well. And 2025, it's on track. It could mark the biggest year yet for crypto capital flows. They're seeing a lot of investor enthusiasm surging post-regulatory reforms. So they think a lot of this is because of the Genius Act. So the Genius Act recently was passed in the US. It's provided some clear legal framework for stable coins and dollar-backed digital tokens. So you guys have probably heard a little bit about this. So this basically it's provided regulatory clarity. It's huge. It's huge for sure. And it has it's been credited with unlocking billions in new crypto investments. And we did see a lot of crypto. Bitcoin hit a new all-time high just after this. So, what can I say? JP Morgan is saying that the capital inflows to private equity and private credit are, those ones are declining because, I guess a lot of them are putting that into crypto. So by comparison, crypto has stolen the spotlight, both in the private and public markets. Oh boy, that's interesting. So Bitcoin, of course, it hit some new all-time highs, and I know at the time I was pulling this news, it was sitting at around $119,400, up 26% year to date, 25% over the last 12 weeks. Ethereum is also up, because I know we were talking a little bit about that a little bit earlier in the show, probably 2 hours ago now. But what does this mean for Canadian investors? I always like to pull it back here. Regulatory clarity in the US, it's setting the tone globally, and we can definitely expect some kind of ripple effects in Canada. So with some of our Canadian crypto ETFs starting to gain a lot of traction, this trend could easily lead to more retail-friendly offerings in the near future. crypto is now firmly in the conversation alongside stocks, bonds, and traditional alternatives like, of course, private equity. So it's looking pretty good for crypto. Gotta love it. All right, I got one last story. I'm just going to get it out of the way and we'll get right back to the chat. There we go. Were you guys expecting to see a robo firefighter today? Probably not. But like I said, slow news week. So Canada has launched the Wildlife Resilience Consortium of Canada. So the WRCC, gotta love our acronyms. So it's a virtual center for wildfire. It's a virtual center for wildfire innovations, collaborations, and technology development. So it is part of a $285 million 5-year initiative under Natural Resources Canada. Now, a good chunk of that money, so $11.7 million, is being invested over the next 4 years to support some of the WRCC's early developments. So the goals of this organization, they were set at the recent G7, so in Kananaskis, when all the world leaders, and it was signed by the G7 leaders. So basically, international data sharing is a big goal, collaborative research, and tech-driven wildfire response strategies. Now, one leader of the G7 did not sign it because he took off. That was Trump. So Trump did not sign it, but everybody else did. So they're going. What are they going to do? They're going to showcase new wildfire fighting technologies. So we're talking drones, and that's why I put a robot in here. So we're looking at firefighting drones, fire-resistant materials, so prevent the fires from spreading. They're looking to serve as a hub for communities, scientists, and governments to share wildfire strategies. They want to highlight Indigenous fire stewardship and integrate traditional ecological knowledge. So they also want to act as an advocate for funding and building a place-based wildfire response network. So in Canada, they plan to hire 6 regional coordinators to oversee Canada's major eco zones when it comes to fires. Because fires are pretty kind of at the front and center here in Canada for sure. Wildfires have been intensifying. We're talking 2025. Expected to see well above average fire activity across Western Canada. And we've already seen a lot. Southern BC is at the highest risk, especially heading into August. So let's hope nothing happens. In 2023, wildfires were Canada's biggest emitter of carbon. So doubling the output of the oil and gas sector. So there we go. Next time you complain about the oil and gas sector putting carbon, point the finger at wildfires first. So what can we say? So Canada right now is at, there's a lot of really good startups in Canada in terms of fire tech. So we've got autonomous water drones that we've been developing, some fire resistant wood products, as well as early detection systems. Like if we can get to a wildfire before it becomes a problem, that's not a bad place to be. And even though we have been really good at innovating, a lot of the issues have been, of course, the lack of grants and or bootstrapping. So, just getting some venture capitalists involved, all of that fun stuff. So the whole idea behind the global wildfire collaboration is simply this. The WRCC, it isn't just a domestic effort. It's tied to those international partners. So right now we've got Australia, India, Mexico, South Africa, and South Korea on board. And this is pretty much going to set Canada up as a leader in wildfire science and tech. And that's the thing. Like if other countries want to pour money into it, it's going to help everyone because, we share the technology. As the world gets warmer, it's going to be a big thing. All right. Now, before I finish off the news, I just want to throw up what's coming out this coming week. So on Wednesday, we have the Bank of Canada rate decision. It's not going to go. There's not going to be a cut. It's going to stay the same. Thursday, we have our monthly GDP data. We'll see what that looks like. In the U.S., this is one of these rare times. On the U.S., we're getting a Fed rate decision on the 30th. Also, their Q2 GDP will be dropping on the 30th. On Thursday, well, it's a busy week in the US. They got the personal consumers expenditures dropping. Friday, they got their jobs data. Holy banana bread. Earnings wise, up here in Canada, we got Enbridge, we got CP, we got TC Energy, Fairfax Financial, TELUS, Fortis, Torlamine, a whole bunch. The United States, we get into the second part of their tech. So we got Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Meta. And let's look at the Visa and MasterCard dropping their earnings coming up. But that, folks, that's the news. All right. Let's get back to the chat. It's just me and you guys now. The news is done. Here we go. Let's see here. I just need to, all right. XRP to the moon. Yes, you got a couple of moons in here. We got the dark side of the moon, the happy side of the moon, and we got a sliver of the moon. Let's see. What are the thoughts of stock borrowing in Wealthsimple? Started in my rear RRSP. I think the stock borrowing doesn't, for one, it doesn't, you don't make much money. I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. It's just very underwhelming. I mean, if you do it, you probably after a while say, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth it. It's not good. It's not good. Let's see. The moon is full. Gonna try the top of Mount Everest. Can you trade with Lira money in Wealthsimple? I don't think you can. I don't think. Now, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I thought Lira might be in their robo side, but I would have to double check. If anybody knows, please drop this in because I do not know the answer to this. Scratch says, I don't ever know a technology that lived through history. What would make anyone think that cryptos are here to stay? Feels like an exit for easy QE in my opinion. All right, fair enough. I think a lot of cryptos are not here to stay. Definitely the altcoins, I think, are gone. Well, not all gone, but there's a lot of bad altcoins, the crap coins that I talk about on the market closes. I think crypto is here for a while. Will it be here forever? Probably not. I know a lot of people are worried about when quantum computing becomes mainstreams. Maybe quantum computing can start to break into some of these coins. It's a thing where, and you have to look at it. Look at oil companies. So look at somebody like Torlamine. Eventually Torlamine will be no more, or there'll be something completely different. Oil's not going to last forever. I don't think we've hit peak oil yet. Some people think we have, but I don't think we have. But if we developed a technology that provided really cheap energy, a lot cheaper than oil, well, what's going to happen to oil companies if that happens? And this is a big if, right? And it's kind of the idea, like any investment could go away. Absolutely. I think you just have to, look at what's most likely. Is it likely that Bitcoin's going to go away within the next year? No, not really. Is it likely they're going to go away 20 years from now? More likely they'll go away in 20 years than in the next year, but I don't know. You have to sort of look at it that way. And here's the thing. If you are afraid or if you're like saying, I just don't trust it, there's nothing wrong with it. There's so many things you can invest in that you can ignore whole sectors if you want to. For example, if you're one of those folks who I don't like carbon. I'm not investing in energy. Okay, fine, cool. There's other things you can invest in. Or if you don't like crypto, you don't have to get involved in crypto. And that's perfectly fine. There's no one right way to investing. There's many right ways. So, you kind of have to take it this way. Think of Enron. What happened to the billion trees the Trudeau crew promised? That I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happened. He's gone. At least he's gone. Let's go with that. All right. Pierre says options trading. Can you do it in the TFSA? No, you can't. That you can't do. Options, you got to do that outside of a registered account. Let's see. I have my ULTY and my Lira. Okay. And I transferred to Wealthsimple. It comes in cash. There's two types of Fed and an Ontario version. There we are. You see, and that's the thing. I don't know a lot about the Lira. I'll admit that. I need to do a little bit more research on it. I know what it is, but that's about it. So, and that's the thing. And this is what I'll tell you guys. You know what, guys? I don't know everything. And I'm that person that if I don't know, I'm going to just own it. I'm like, don't know. There are YouTubers out there, and you got to be wary of them. If a YouTuber comes up and just invents an answer, then run for the hills. Run for the hills. I'm never going to do that to you guys. I will own what I don't know, and I'm weak on liras. I'm weak on liras because I've never really been exposed to liras. But I do need to do more research on them. Absolutely. All right. And let's see. Ooh, it's getting darker outside. Yes, it's slowly. Well, it's still pretty sunny here. It's oh my God, it's like 6:30. All right, guys. We've hit the 2-hour and 30-minute mark again. This has been another fantastic show. We are going to be back here on Wednesday for the market close. That starts at 3:45 Eastern, so 15 minutes before the market closes. There will be a video on Tuesday, so that's going to be fun. We're going to compare a regular ETF versus its covered call version. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at the different time frames. We'll look at them in a bear market, a bull market, and look at them when they're flat. We'll look at them when they're flat, and we'll see what happened. We'll see what happened. There we go, Storm. HHIS is another excellent one. And no, I'm not sponsored by Harvest. They are just really great. Yeah, I recently did. I recently did HHIS, and it was not sponsored. It was not sponsored. I've only done 2 sponsored videos to date. They were both Evolve videos, but yeah, HHIS, fantastic. I do love it. All right, guys, we will see you on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. I can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. All right. Until then, everyone, take care. Enjoy your evening.